Are you ready to head chop some of your succulents? So in today's video, I'm going to share with you the process that I follow when I'm choosing my succulents to head chop for the season. So it's now April, so it's beginning of the growing season. So it's a perfect time to chop any succulents that you want to duplicate. It's a really good method of propagation. You can use it on succulents which are a little bit taller and have got quite a thick stem, so they're kind of ready to be propagated. So I'm going to explain to you the process that I follow when getting them ready for their head chop at the beginning of the season. Firstly, we just need to choose what we're going to head chop. So as you can see, I've got quite a lot of choice. I usually go for succulents which are a bit more mature, which have got a thicker stem, which probably need a head chop. For example, I have got over here one which is quite tall. I do like the look of it like that. That's my Peach Pride, and it's recently had a water and plumped up, and there's a little pup growing just on the stem down here, but it is quite tall, so it would be a really good one that I could choose for a head chop. And then other ones are just ones that I want to duplicate. Actually, this one over here, the Lola, that's quite tall now, and that could do with maybe having a head chop and reducing, but it's in bloom and I quite like to try and pollinate that one. So I might just wait until the bloom has finished and I've tried to do my pollination. So it can be quite complicated depending on what you're doing with your succulents. For example, this would be quite a good one. This is one that I've only got one of. It's quite a rare one. It's got quite a nice thick stem. It's quite tall. So that would be quite a good option actually. So I think we'll put that in the pile of to head chop. And then we'll just look around and choose a few more. I'd love to do some variegated ones. So what have we got over here? Some I did last year, so I don't want to chop them again because that is a bit abuse. Actually, this one over here, it's my Pudgy. I'd like to do that. There's lots of little ones coming anyway. But yeah, I think that probably needs to be chopped down. That's very, very tall. I have already chopped some of these little pups off just down here. So yeah, that's definitely going to go in my chop pile. And I'm just wondering if I do the variegated version of it as well. There's some nice pups sitting at the bottom. Has that got a bloom coming? It has. I'm not very good at variegated blooms. I don't know if they are infertile. I'm not really sure, but that could be a good option for a head chop. But then something rarer as well. What would we like? I love head chopping my super bums. They're always quite successful. But I've got quite a few tall ones over here as well, which probably need it. This one's really tall, so we'll go for that one. And maybe my Tinkerbell. That was chopped last year. You can see a few fresh babies there. Oh, there's so many options. But obviously the aim of it is to duplicate your favourite plants, really. So you have to be quite clever with it. I'm so tempted to do that one, but it's so beautiful. It worries me. I've done one before and it never really did anything. And I think I lost both of them, so that worries me a little bit, but that's very, very rare that would happen. Oh, so much choice. Right, so I'm going to faff around and decide, and then I'm going to get a tray together with what I've chosen. So these are the plants I've chosen. I want to do a few variegated ones, so I think I've got 6 variegated ones here. Some of them are quite tall, so they definitely need a chop. Some variegated ones are just, got a good stem on them. It needs to be quite a thick stem. Last year I chopped quite a few which had quite a thin, short stem, and I just didn't get any pups from them. So it's kind of a bit pointless. You kind of weaken the plant and don't get any results from that. And the other ones I've chosen are a kind of semi-variegated one at the back here. This started showing some variegation last year, but it soon started growing out. So I thought if I just give it a good chop, that might then lead to some further variegation. There's only a couple of leaves just at the side here which are showing it, but I just think it's worth trying to get some variegation back into that plant. And then also I have a pretty little golden glow here, which is one I don't really see very often, so that would be a good one. And this tall imbricata, that is very, very tall and doesn't look very good, so that could definitely do with a chop. Then we've got a pretty in pink. I really love this one, and it's got quite a good stem on it, so I think that's a really good option to try and get some beautiful pups. And then we've got a mocha. I used to have quite a lot of that, but I've only got one left. So yeah, that's something I like to duplicate. Then we've got this one from Korea. This has got a nice thick stem on there. It's just one I don't really see very much of, so I think that would be a really good option. This one here, I'm just not a fan of. It's quite tall, it's leaning over, and I just don't like how it looks at the minute. It just looks quite stretched. So I'd like to chop the head and reroot that, and then hopefully get some nice pups there, and maybe leaf prop it as well because it's very tall. And then we've got a Saraheim at the front, the Pudgy, which is variegated, and this purple one just looks really tall and doesn't look very good. So yeah, I'm going to do that as well. So what I'm going to do now is water all of these plants, give them a really good drench, make sure they're like properly soaking up all that water, and then in probably about 3 days time I'll check back and I will see how plump they are. They need to be really plump, and the leaves at the bottom especially, because they need all the energy they can get to start rooting again. So let's get these all watered and then we can check back in a few days to see how much they've plumped up. So it's been a couple of days and the succulents really have plumped up a lot. So as you can see, they are looking nice and full. Some of these leaves on this one are not 100% where I want them to be, but I found this one's quite thirsty. So what I might do is leave something like this, which is a little bit wrinkled, just a couple more days, and then if it still doesn't plump up, just give it a little bit more water just to see if that helps it, because I'd rather the whole thing be nice and plump before I go ahead and chop. Just gives it a lot better success rate. Whereas this one is ready. That is super firm. All the leaves are looking amazing. So this is one of my favorites, and it really worries me that I'm going to do this, but you have to take risks and yeah, hope for the best, but I'm sure we'll get some beautiful succulents from this. So this is one I will chop with you in a moment. And then other ones I'm just going to check. This is one I actually added on a bit later. Don't think I caught it in the video, but I've had it outside and it's beautiful. It's doing really well, and it's just absolutely huge. So this is my hand, and it's bigger than my hand. So yeah, it's really big. It's got a nice big stem on it, so I think, oh, let's just chop it because I'd love to have some more of that. It's beautiful. That one is called a black opal. It's just a really nice frilly plant, and we've had quite a lot of rain last couple of days, so it's really plumped up and it's happy. So yep, I'm going to chop that one as well. So I'm just going to go through now and just sort out what is ready and what isn't. So like I say, if there's anything with a kind of a leaf which isn't quite plump enough, so this one is mocha, yeah, this is nice, that's good and firm. So I'm just going to have a little pile here of what's ready and what's not. So this one never looks very happy. I think it's just too tall now. The leaves are very thin on this as well, so they don't store a lot of water very long. It's quite a thirsty plant, so I'm going to go for that one. It's already had a head chop last year and had quite a few babies off it. Not all of them survived, I think, because it is quite a thin leaf plant. I struggle to know when to water it sometimes. Like, I don't water it enough, but I've got some little babies here, so I'll probably take them off as well and get them to root on their own. So yeah, I'm just going to sort these out into piles of what's ready and what's not. Wow, that one's very plump. Some of them are just very thirsty plants. Like, they don't even look like some of these have been watered, but I definitely watered them all. Makes me doubt myself, but so yes, I'm going to put these into piles and then I will come back to you. So I've only got I can't count. I've only got 4 here which are not ready, so I'm going to put them to one side, and like I say, I'll check them in a couple more days, and if they're still not plump, then I'll probably give them another watering. It looks like these ones are probably in some really old soil, and they're not actually able to soak up the water as much as something which has got fresher soil like this one. So that makes a really big difference. So make sure you're repotting your succulents. I say regularly. These have probably been in the same pot for about 3 years. So I really ideally would like to do them yearly. It just obviously takes me a very long time. So if you have a smaller collection and you are able to do it, I would recommend trying to repot them, give them some fresh soil. It doesn't always need to be a bigger pot, but just refreshing that soil so they can get lots of nutrients still and be able to soak up the water, because I bet when I take these out of these pots, they are completely root bound. The roots are probably quite dead, quite brown, and yet, like I say, not able to soak up the water and get any nutrients. So it's now time to head chop. So what I would always do is sterilize my equipment. So I'm going to try and use one of my newer scissors, secateurs, whatever they're called. One of these I got off Temu recently. It's a little bit messy at the moment, so I'm just going to give it a really good spray with the alcohol. and that just sterilises it. So if there's any germs which have been sitting on there from the past chop or whatever I've been doing with these, that will obviously sterilise them and make them nice and clean. So I'm going to start probably with this tall one. So this one has been chosen because it's pretty tall and it's had a lot of dead leaves, and yeah, I just wanted to kind of get it back to some normal kind of height, really. Yeah, I just wonder if this stem looks a bit funny, but it's probably just because it's old. So what I would always do when you're doing a head chop is make sure you're leaving some leaves on the actual stem, because these are obviously what soak up the energy from the sun still. So I'm going to try and chop quite high. And what I always do as well is, because I've just watered them, the leaves are nice and plump, so you can always remove a few leaves to make room for where you want to cut. And obviously you can then kind of get a free propagation from the leaf as well as the head chop. So it's kind of 2 birds in 1 stone. So I'm just going to take a few off there. And then I'm going to chop. Let's hope my new scissors do the trick. Perfect. So that is now the head. And then that's what is left on the stem. So there are quite a few leaves there. Some are a little bit old. I'm not sure what that one's doing. That's quite old. And they will then soak up some energy from the sun. So this one I don't actually have an ID for. I have no idea what it is. So what I'd always recommend is that if you are doing this with ones that you have IDs for and you want to, know what they are, put an ID in here, because obviously you're going to be left with a stem, and then also put an ID in with the head. But what I'm going to do with the heads is just let them callus over on this tray. So I'm just going to sit them on here. I think this one's probably a little bit small actually to sit in here. If that's the case, I've got some lovely little terracotta pots, some baby ones. So I've got these, and I'll just sit them on there as well. They can go in there, and then I will just let it callus over. Oh, is that too small for that? No, it's fine. Right, so that's what I'll do with that. Obviously, if I had the ID, I would write a little label and pop that in there so I knew what it was, but unfortunately I don't. So that's what we're going to do for now. Just need to make some more room. And I'm going to fill this tray up with head chops. So the next one I've chosen is this beauty. I do have an ID for this one. This is actually really good at propagating from leaf, I've found out in the last year or so. So again, I'm just going to remove some leaves a little higher up. Sometimes they're quite hard to do that, so I'll take one of these ones first. It's always good to just tilt them sideways and pull gently. The stem's quite long, so I don't want it to break, but yeah, just get a nice clean cut when you're taking leaves off. And that means that the growth point there is all intact still. That's what you need. If it's obviously splits or anything, there's a lot less chance of it propagating. So, oh, I'm just now emptying that out of the pot. Let's take that one off as well. So I've got a few leaves there. I'm now going to chop. Sometimes it's quite easy to use a knife and get in there, so I might actually do that with this one just because of the shape of it and how full the plant is. So let's get a knife and I'm going to pop it straight in. And then just give it a kind of gentle wiggle to cut into the stem. Sometimes it takes a little while because I just don't want to like completely break the plant, do you know what I mean? I need to keep some leaves on there, so some people are a lot more rougher than this. I hate doing it. I feel like I'm murdering my plants, but it's for good reason. So that sounded good then. That sounds like I've got through. There we go. It's just one of the leaves is cut in half. So again, we've got the head, which is beautiful. And sometimes if these leaves like this one are just hanging off, you can just pull them off, because you're going to need to have some room to create some new roots. And that's fine. It's going to callus over now. You see it's nice and pink. And again, that's going to be too small. Where are my terracotta pots? And some more. So there we go. I'm going to pop that on there. Make sure the ID goes back in with this. I'm just going to leave that on there as well. And then I'm going to, I just realised you can't even see what I'm doing. Here we go. So I'll just put these two on here, and I'm just going to write a label for the head. There we go. So I'm just going to continue with this, and it's as easy as that really. Obviously each plant is different. I'm going to do this mocha next, and that's got quite a lot of spacing between the leaves here, so that'll be quite easy to do with my scissors. So it's just kind of trial and error, and it really is worth doing. Some of my succulents from last year have got so many pups growing. I'll just show you one now. So this is the one from last year I did, probably at the end of the season, and obviously I'm very lucky to have so many pups on there. But yeah, it's just an example of how many pups you can get if you head chop. And yeah, they're doing really well. They're quite thirsty at the minute, so they need another water. But it's how many plants you can get from one by just chopping off one head is just incredible. So I love doing it. I find it a really fascinating process. Obviously it's trial and error. It doesn't always work, but when I say it doesn't always work, you don't always get pups on the stem. Sometimes it just, it doesn't happen, but it's quite rare. And you're always left with the head, which is very rare again that I've not had one that is rooted. So yeah, it's just one of those things that it's always been worth my time and effort and pain, because I do worry that they're not going to come back or do anything, but they usually do. So yeah, it's definitely worthwhile doing. So I'll just do this mocha now. So this is variegated, so this is a really good one to do, because variegated plants you can't propagate from leaf. Obviously you can, but it's quite rare that they would then be a variegated leaf. They would revert maybe to their original non-variegated form. So just deciding where to chop. I think I'm going to keep these leaves on and chop there. So there's mocha, and there's the head. Beautiful. So I'd always just let them callus over, like I've said, on this tray, but just make sure they're not touching anything, because they are obviously susceptible to infection and mealies and things. So just keep an eye on them as well, and just make sure they're not touching anything and no bugs get to them as well, because mealies love a weakened plant. So just be very aware of that. And if they do have any mealies on them, just spray them with alcohol spray. I always use the 70% one, which works very well. So they've all been chopped. It does take a little while and a lot of aggression. So yeah, they're all the bodies and stems of the plants. So I'll put them with my other ones I've got in the other greenhouse, and I will put these somewhere where they're going to get some nice indirect light. It's really important to keep them standing up so they don't start leaning towards the sun. So they need to be sitting up quite straight like they are, and that's why I've used little terracotta pots as well, because if not they kind of just fall in here and then they can stretch and look a bit funny. So yeah, it's really important to keep them sitting up straight so they can get lots of light and start creating new roots and obviously become plants again. So let's hope that their stems have lots of babies, and I will probably check back in maybe a month's time just with an update, and let's see what's happened. So I'm actually going to leave this video here and make a part 2. So this one is obviously how I prepare my succulents for the head chop, and then how to do it as well. But what I'm also going to do is then update you in a part 2 of what the succulents have done, how they're getting on. So if you have any questions from this video, please let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video and are looking forward to seeing the update, then please subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I'll be back with the part 2 probably in a couple of months' time, when I've got a really good update for you and I can show you what they've done. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.